I know a lot of people have asked me about when I'm going to come back to Final Fantasy. I'm going to come back and play Final Fantasy whenever the Johnny Depp trial is over. That's when it's going to happen. So, Final Fantasy Raiders gets banned live on stream as part of recent crackdown by Square Enix on third-party tools. Let's take a look at this, because obviously this has been a crazy fucking thing. Here we go. What about 2 Hour Mad Season video? We're going to watch that tomorrow. Here we go.
Go last ball.
It's pretty good.
Yep.
We're clearing right now. That's both of them. He's at the.
Okay, this blade is actually not too bad.
I can't target the other one.
Oh my god. You can target.
Oh no!
Where you are? Yeah, I can.
Oh, whoa, wait.
Can you just press tab?
Hold up, wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm clicking on pressing tab. I can't target him at all.
Hold up.
Turn off my stream. I don't think I should stream this.
Hold up.
Wait, what happened?
I'm in jail.
Are you really?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, you got
What
put
the?
out.
What?
He just got put in jail.
I think I might be gone.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
told
he's
you.
bad.
Oh, shit.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
There he is. Bro, like, I like how he appears out of fucking nowhere. Like, it's actually kind of scary.
Go last ball.
It's pretty good.
Like, look at him, look at him pop up.
I think I might be gone.
Yeah,
Look at that.
Yeah,
told
he's
you.
bad.
Holy shit.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, dude. Oh my god, Advanced Combat Tracer. So what? Basically, I'm not sure exactly like what add-on he had, but like I think this isn't this isn't normal for sure. And I guess this thing down here, this isn't fucking bottom right. I see it. It's right there. Yeah, I wasn't even paying attention. I thought that was a stream overlay for a second. So yeah, it's the add-on. So this guy got suspended for the add-on. And damn, this is actually really quite loud. Let me turn this down a bit. Okay, there we go. It was all because of ACT. They have an add-on to call out the mechanics. Watch the Xeno video about it. Yeah, I will in a minute. I'll talk about it. I'll give like my general opinion about this, and then I'll go from there, right? And I saw that. I read this, and look at what they fucking post. Look at what they fucking post about this shit. Plus 2 hour Asmon intro. Can you fucking believe this? Can you fucking believe this? Like, this is that's the main comment about this whole thing is, oh, now it's going to be 2 more hours into the intro. And guess what? Now it's going to be 2.5 because I'm going to talk about your comment. That's it. Yeah, it's okay. Listen, guys, it's what I like to do. I love sitting around talking about shit, man. I find it to be quite surprising that so many people tune in and they just watch me talk about fucking it, like go on like who the fuck watches a 6-hour rant? I mean, like every day, every day, but like millions of people do. And it's like, why? What is this? And I'm so lucky, guys. Thank you very much. I'm so lucky. But it's just, it's really kind of fucking funny for me to see this, man. It is. And yeah, thank you, guys. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about this. I think that there is a huge difference between an add-on that changes lighting, an add-on that adds, I think chat bubbles is probably the best example of this, is like having chat bubbles is just something like, honestly, like Square Enix needs to just put that in the game. Like it's like WoW has that. It's fucking great. I wish Final Fantasy had that. Like chat bubbles would be fucking awesome. I'd love chat bubbles. I think that would just make the game better in general. And so hopefully, you know, they're able to do that. But other than that, having add-ons that help you figure out what's going on in the raid. I think that you have to come at this from 2 different perspectives. You have to look at it from the perspective of why is it hard to figure out what's going on, and also why do you need an add-on to do it? You see what I'm saying? So like, I think that add-ons are in some cases a failure on the player's part to be able to adapt and understand mechanics, and I think add-ons in another part can be the failure on the developer's part in order to make mechanics easy to understand and intuitive. So both of these things are true simultaneously. So where in the middle do you land with like Final Fantasy? I haven't done this fucking fight, so I don't know. But what I do know is that in a lot of the fights in Final Fantasy, generally things are relatively well telegraphed, but for me at least, sometimes it can be hard to know why something went wrong. And like maybe this is just me being a new player, but I think there's a lot of people that are like me. And I don't really know what happened because you don't really have an adventure journal. There's not as much data mining like Wowhead has. So it's harder to find information about the game in the same way that it was with Warcraft, or at least maybe it is for me. And I think that's the way many people feel that way. Heavensward? Well, that's a good point, right? So like if I'm having this trouble with Heavensward, then I think it would be the same case with fights in the future that are more complex as well, right? I think that would just make sense. So anyway, what I'm trying to say here is that a lot of these mechanics, it gets better. Yes, I'm sure the fights get easier. Shut up, chat. Yeah, no, not really. No data mining. No, old fights were garbage to show you what you did wrong. Maybe that's true, right? Maybe that's true. But I do think that there will probably be mechanics that are hard to understand in later on fights too, right? I mean, I don't know why. It's like every time that I make a comment on this, I make an obvious comment. I say something like, fights will probably get harder in the future. People say, oh, you don't know, you only did Heavensward. No, of course, because that's the way the game is. I've had hundreds of people tell me this. It's common sense that it works that way. And so anyway, yes, obviously some mechanics are hard to understand. And so if a mechanic is hard to understand, is this a failure of the developer, or is this a failure of the what do you call it? Is it a failure of the developer, or is it a failure of the player? And I think that in many cases it's both. I think that in some cases you have you have a case where like a mechanic is like you don't really know what the fuck is going on, and it's like you just die and that's it. And like, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to handle this? It's hard to really know based off of the tools that the game gives you inside of the game that you should understand intuitively. Because I think that you should be able to figure things out intuitively, even in harder fights, even though it might be more complex to do so. So, in general, what do I think about add-ons? I think the game would be better for Warcraft, I've said this, and I think also with Final Fantasy, if people did not have add-ons that told them how to play the fight. Period. I think that it like any awareness add-ons or anything like that. I think that a problem with awareness or knowing what's going on or something like that, this is simply a failure either of the player or is a failure of the developer to make whatever is happening easy to understand. What about a DPS tracker? So here's why people don't have here's why DPS trackers are a double-edged sword. And I think that World of Warcraft plays a very good example into this. And Ashes of Creation is not having a DPS meter. And I will explain why I think that's a good idea. So the reason why I think it's a good idea that Ashes of Creation does not have a DPS meter is because of the fact that they have legitimate actual, legitimate, what's it called? Support classes. So whenever you have a real legitimate support class, you're going to have actual disparities in DPS. And it's much harder to judge a support class's damage and a support class's value whenever you don't have a number associated with it like everything else. So like, for example, like in Lost Ark, this has happened with Berserker. Berserker is an extremely high DPS class, but it adds literally nothing to the raid. Because who the fuck would get the red dust buff to help the raid? Fuck the raid. I want the stuff myself. I'm there for me, right? Stagger, yeah, fuck that. Yeah, I'm there for my own stuff. And Stagger, I think that Artillerist has a better Stagger than Berserker, but I could be wrong. The only thing that I'm really trying to say here is that whenever you have that type of a disparity, it creates a lot of misconceptions in the mind of players. And I think that's what the biggest issue is with something like a damage meter. And I think with Final Fantasy has like a overall policy of no add-ons, period. And I'll read their post about this, but they have an overall policy of just don't use add-ons. So if you're using like a damage meter is an add-on. Now, is a damage meter a worse type of add-on? In my opinion, I think a damage meter is not really that bad. I think that a damage meter is like just any other tool. It can be used to be, you know, a weapon, or it can be used to build a house. It's the same thing as a hammer or a saw or anything else like that. So I don't think damage meters are fundamentally bad, because Final Fantasy doesn't have as many classes that are built around just like being pure supports. Like, yes, obviously there's a disparity between, I would probably assume, I don't know, a machinist DPS and a black mage's DPS, for example, right? I'm sure there's a disparity between the two, but the disparity is not as massive, and they don't have some gigantic fucking difference between them. I looked at the parses, and there is a difference, but it's not huge, as I said before. It creates metas. Yes, it does create metas. So that's probably why, that's why it would be an issue, but Final Fantasy doesn't really have, like, pure support classes that do, like, half and half, like half healing, half damage, or half support and half damage. So they don't really have the same problem that Ashes of Creation will run into. But I don't think that you necessarily need a DPS meter in all cases, as long as you know that everybody's trying to perform well. However, I think that it is necessary. It should be a tool that people are able to use if they choose to. Does that make sense? So I think people should be able to choose to use that in a game like Final Fantasy, sure. But if they don't want to, it's not really that big of a deal. For self-improvement, yeah, because there's a lot of people, like, you always hear about the people that use, oh, they're like linking to damage meters after every trash pull and saying how good they are. Like, I hate this guy. But most people don't do that, right? It's like you have that one bad experience, and then, like, everything else, it just never happens that way. Then everyone will choose to? I don't really know. It depends. But yeah, I do think it does become an issue whenever it's required. And it's like Final Fantasy doesn't want to have a situation, because this is a problem with WoW, is that, and this is something I've said before, there's been a lot of people talking about this on Twitter as well. I've saw this, you know, with like people tweeting, you know, like Warcraft players, etc., tweeting about add-ons and should add-ons be removed or not. Here's my take, and here's what I think about add-ons in Warcraft. I think that every add-on is either an unfair advantage or a shortcoming of the game's base UI. So there are advantages that you shouldn't have, and there are also shortcomings of the UI, and every single one falls into two categories. So in general, like, whenever I think of like Elv UI, or something that tells you where your debuffs are, or something that tells you where your character frame is, or something like that, this is just a setback from the UI. The UI should have this as a default feature, that you can move and resize and change this however you want. However, add-ons that, like Ian, remember whenever I did the interview with Ian, he said add-ons that are computational, add-ons that solve the problem for you. That's not good. That's not making the game better. That's not helping anybody. That just gives people an unfair advantage. How would a console version of WoW work without add-ons? I have no idea. I have no idea. There's not it's not there. As someone with Asperger's, no UI is made for me. Without add-ons, a fair amount of games hurt my brain. Well, so, like, I mean, you could make that argument for whenever you realize you can make that same argument for people that have visual disabilities, and for it to call out each ability that happens with with voice, right? You see what I'm saying? So, like, you can apply that logic, and if you apply that logic fully, then you're going to have the same problem that we have now. Yeah, you can't design for everybody. Seems fine. What's this? Yeah, sounds like a good idea, yeah. Wait, are people not add-ons do help? Blame everything, set me back? Well, you guys see what I'm saying, though, right? Okay, apply that logic, support some. Yeah, you guys see what I'm saying? Sorry, I didn't know if you guys were pushing back on what I said or what he said. Yeah, okay, all right, good, yeah. Good, I wanted to make sure that, yeah. We can't have... You cannot design a game that is going to be perfect for everyone, and just because it doesn't fit into somebody's life doesn't mean that they have the ability to alter it to make it easier because of what they consider a disability. Because, like, what do? Do you have to have, like, let's think this out, right? So, like, let's say every person that has some sort of disorder can download an add-on. Like, how does the company verify this? Why does everybody not say they have this disorder and then download the add-on? You can't you can't do things that way. Yeah, it just, like, this immediately falls apart the moment that you actually apply it to real life. It's like one of these things where, like, you know, Blizzard will come up with this, like, really interesting system that sounds great in a focus group, and then the moment that it interacts with players, it falls onto the fucking floor and shatters. It's garbage. People's logic is, I want this, the game's bad because it doesn't have what I want. Yeah, exactly. So I do think that people, I do think that add-ons do generally, it creates a tier of player, and it artificially increases player skill. And I think that this is a good way to look at it, right? So you think about what is cheating? And I think this is a very interesting way to look at it, right? What is cheating? So is cheating something that, yes, Doc? Right. But, like, what would you say cheating is? Like, if you were to define cheating, what would you say cheating is? Yeah, let me see here. GGG just banned a disabled guy for using flask macros. Yeah, because if they don't, then everybody's going to be disabled. That's what's going to happen. Like, it's just what's going to happen. I think the problem there is the reason why they had flask macros. Why do you have to keyboard your flasks every time you do a pull? It's obviously fucking stupid. It sucks. It's shit gameplay. The problem, and that is a perfect fucking example of what I was saying before, right? Is that keyboarding flasks and then grinding gear games, this is in Path of Exile, banning people for flask macros is a perfect example of whenever people use add-ons and use cheats to do something, and I do think that is a fault of the developer. Because the gameplay sucks and people don't want to have to do it. That's all it comes down to. The gameplay is dog shit. I don't want to keyboard flasks every single time. It's annoying. So why is it keep happening like this? So yeah, Flask Spam is fucking stupid though. Yeah, the new orbs fix it though. Yes, and I know, and there's other things that fix it too. Like you have, if you're really, really good, you have Mage Blood, right? That could somehow solve the problem to an extent, right? And just in general, I think that it's something that that they do need to fix. I hope that they will fix it much more in Path of Exile too. Like double weaving mods in Final Fantasy XIV, fixing dogshit design. Yeah, and so I think that a developer should look at why players are using add-ons. And if the reason why they're using an add-on is to bypass a mechanic that's not fun to play. And if players are using an add-on to bypass a mechanic that's not fun to interact with, why is that mechanic in the game in the first place? And I think that's the way to look at it, and I think that's the most healthy way to look at it. But again, with like raids in general, I think what is a cheat? A cheat is something that, in my opinion, gives you an unfair advantage over other players, and it's also something that that increases your power, the power level of your character, extrinsically of the game itself. And like, obviously, you can make an argument that playing with a higher frame rate is a cheat, but let's just go ahead and not be intellectually dishonest here. And so, I do think that add-ons, in a big way, fall under that category. So, for example, whenever you play PUBG, let's say you had a model editor that changed the character model in PUBG, and they made the player characters bright red. That would make them way easier to see, wouldn't it? Like in PUBG, like if you're going around, like let's say you're on the original map, right? And like the character is bright fucking red. Yeah, like the hitbox of the character, bright fucking red. And it would be way easier to see. But everybody would agree that's a cheat, right? Yeah, everybody would agree that is 100% a cheat. They use blue blood. Yeah, they do use blue blood, but that's something that's put into the game. And so if somebody is using that, I feel like having a character editor that changes the color of something, because like really what does that do? It just makes it easier to see. It just makes it easier to see what's going on in the game. And so I think you use the same logic for mechanics in MMOs. But I do think that being able to see if a mechanic is happening and understand what's going on with the mechanic, being able to see it should not be part of the difficulty. I hate that. I hate it in Warcraft whenever I have 7 different pets, 3 different AoEs, 2 different toy effects, and my own fucking damage happening, and I can't even see the fucking floor that a swirly boy is underneath, and next thing you know, I'm fucking dead. I hate that. Like, it should be fucking obvious what to do, and what to do should just be harder to do. Turn off spell effects. Well, then what if turning off spell effects makes it harder to see the swirly boys? Why is this even an issue? What, like, why are we having any fucking pushback for this? It's fucking stupid. It doesn't. Yeah, it does. It does. It does. It absolutely does. Yeah, swirly boys. It's annoying. The same with pets and stuff like that. Anything that I think obscures your vision to be able to understand what's going on in the game generally sucks. So I'll watch the Xeno video and I'll talk about this, but first I want to read some of the comments that people have about this on the Final Fantasy subreddit, okay? And let's see what they're saying. Give me 1 second. Let's pull this up. All right, where is it? Add-ons, don't ask, show, or tell. It's pretty simple, isn't it? Okay, let me go back over there and look at this one. And, yeah, there we go. This is, it was a very big thread. I saw this earlier. Xeno, yeah, we'll watch Xeno's video about this very soon, okay? I know a lot of people have been asking me about that, and I will do that. Like swirlies in the Anduin intermission. You can fucking see them because 40 mobs and 20 players are collapsing in 4 meters. Yeah, it's just, in my opinion, I think it's bad design. Straight up, I think it's fucking bad design. Like, I don't know what else to say. It's just, that's literally all there is to it, man. And so you should watch this clear. Yeah, we'll look at the clears and stuff like that afterwards, okay? Zeppo's video, it's a nice contrast. Yeah, we'll watch Zeppo's video as well. Because I do think this is way too long. It's like 30 minutes. We'll watch Zeppo's video and see what's going on with that. Square issues formal statement reaffirming that add-ons are against TOS and to not promote them or you may get suspended or banned. And let's see here. Let me make sure you got this on. Okay, does that... Yeah, that's working. Okay, good. Nah, they won't do anything. It's all empty threats. Streamers continue to publicly broadcast their use of add-ons. Square starts suspending streamers doing just that. Players surprise Pikachu face. Yes, this is just the truth. The fact is that, like, if you are broadcasting with an add-on, you aren't advertising the add-on. That's the truth. That's what it is. You are advertising, you are promoting the add-on. Like, it's just like... If that was not true, then people wouldn't pay streamers millions of dollars to play video games. Obviously, to a certain extent, what the streamer is doing does play some impact on what people think they should or should not do. It's just common sense. So anyway, let's go back down. We're going to look at this one here. Video came out explaining they mostly use cheaty plugins, by the way. Maybe you'd be interested in it. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll look at the, listen, guys, I'll find out whichever video works, but I want to read some comments from the community first here, okay? And I also want to say, I know a lot of people have asked me about when I'm going to come back to Final Fantasy. I'm going to come back and play Final Fantasy whenever the Johnny Depp trial is over. That's when it's going to happen. The only exception to that is if the Dragonflight Alpha comes out. I'll probably take a couple of days off and play the Dragonflight Alpha. And then I'll go back and play it. So, like, it's a difference between, like, a few days or so. But, yeah, that's what it comes down to. Mega Pint? Yeah, sure. So that's what my plan is, Vaulton. Oh, well, no, Vaulton will be, like, just a couple of days. Like, I feel like Vaulton content is going to be, like, one full day of content, maybe, like, 2. And then, like, I'll do it on my 2nd Berserker, and then maybe on my 3rd Berserker and 4th Berserker. But, like, I mean... It's not going to be a long amount of content, right? A promise? I don't want promise. Promise? Who cares about promises? I lie. So that's what my plan is. After my after the trial thing, I'm going to do Final Fantasy, and that's the plan. I'm going to get back to it and do it again. Let's see here. Final Fantasy Jail is an actual place. I thought it was more of an idiom or something. Yes, it is an actual place. I saw that on Soda's stream. Final Fantasy logs are beating hard of the competitive scene. Their existence usability is dependent on ACT. Without ACT, we don't have people optimizing rotations. We don't have people improving the game. We don't have people pushing the bounds of what's possible, and we likely don't have a player base of competitive players and dedicated enough to make a race for world first in the actual draw. This sucks. I think that's a very good point. I do. I think that's a very good point. And one question that I have is that, is it necessary to have ACT as an add-on inside of the game? Because if it works like Warcraft logs, and this is an open question, because if it works like Warcraft logs, you can run Warcraft logs and you don't have to run it, and it shows that you don't have to run a DPS meter in game to log a fight. So why is this? So, right. So then what's this? Like, wouldn't that mean that this is wrong? Yeah, wouldn't that mean that like this is wrong? Like, yeah, you can log without ACT. Yeah, it is wrong. Okay, you need ACT. It is the same. It's a Reddit post. People chose to put it on their stream. It's a battle log, but it takes a minimum of 2 hours to add all the numbers up in a 10-minute fight, let alone a 15-minute fight. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, I guess Warcraft logs is a lot faster than that. I wonder why it's faster. Add-ons like CatBot literally tell you where to go and what to do is bad. Parsing with ACT is good. Also, add-ons that tell you, for example, if your damage is physical or magical. Yeah, but the problem is, like, the reason why Square Enix doesn't want to deal with that is because they don't want to arbitrate which add-ons are good and which add-ons are bad. It's just that simple. Humble Tricks, thank you very much for the gifted subs, for the 10 gifted subs. Thank you. Yeah, I think that they don't want to have to arbitrate between, like, oh, this add-on is good, this add-on is bad. This add-on is good, this add-on is bad. I feel like that's just, it's too much work for them to do. I'm fine with them not implementing ACT. Truly, I understand toxicity element. I have people commenting here. Glad streamers using third-party tools being banned. I just don't want ACT to be used because they suck. There are a lot of people, and I think that this is true. There are a lot of people who don't like damage meters because they suck. Period. That's it. That's the whole story. There's no more fine print. There's no more information. It's just that simple. They suck, and they don't want to be called out because they suck. And if they don't have a damage meter, it's harder for people to tell if they suck. So yes, I think that's true, absolutely. But we should look at it more objectively and not let people like that, or people that are very toxic about it and on the opposite end, basically like set the conversation tone. It doesn't really matter what the extremes think, because they're always a very small minority. Let's look at this here. What changed is mass migration of players from other games. Final Fantasy XIV, we saw a mass rise in streamers, especially popular streamers, also gravitating to Final Fantasy XIV. With the mass rise in Final Fantasy XIV streams came a lot of revelations, both about the use of add-ons and third-party tools. And when I say revelations, I don't mean Square Enix suddenly found out. I mean streamers openly showed them in action, flaunting the TOS and basically forcing Square Enix to choose either stricter enforcement or throwing the gates open and letting everything go. I think that it's not that case at all. I think that before I even streamed, or anybody even streamed Final Fantasy, any other like mainstream streamer did this, I feel like people were already, they were already using the add-ons. This had nothing to do with new streamers. Whenever I watched older videos, I saw this, and I actually heard that, correct me if I'm wrong about this, but didn't Square Enix not congratulate the World First Team for killing Alexander because they use add-ons? Didn't that happen? Yeah, yes, TPS, right. And so, yeah, I remember this shit. And so, yeah, there's already an example of them disliking that before other streamers played, right? So, there it is. Rykor, thanks for the gifted subs. I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. Thank you. I saw a stream of them trying to ban WoW players. There was a conversation about this. Here's the way I see it. They congratulated T. Chat's wrong. Streamers can just hide ACT. I think that just hiding ACT is like, yeah, I think that's what they should do. Yeah, don't ask, don't tell, right? Sure. Anyway, I think that there were other people saying that the streamer didn't actually get legitimately suspended. They only got suspended because they got mass reported. Is that true? I saw this before. They congratulated the T-Clear, not, yes. Yeah, so, yeah, they got brigaded. I don't really know, like, I'm not sure how Square Enix handles things, but it seemed very obvious to me that, like, if somebody is gonna go and have this happen, right? If, like, this is like a real, like, this person here is a real person. It's not like this is some automated algorithm that automatically removes your account if you get 17 or more reports within 5 or less minutes, right? So this is obviously a person that made this decision. So regardless of how many people reported him, it could have been one person or it could have been a million people. This person got reported and they got their account actioned because of Square Enix's judgment and not because of a mass report. You see what I'm saying? So I think that like whenever somebody gets brigaded and they get mass reported and then they get their shit taken down, I only consider that, like, I consider that a bad thing usually. It's like the guy's breaking the rules and a bunch of people got together and reported them. Yeah, obviously that's cheesy and it's like some fucking hall monitor shit. Yeah, like I get it. Like I totally get it. It's like it's cheesy. But like, he didn't get banned because they mass reported him. He got banned because he did something wrong. You know what I mean? They banned some streamers that use add-ons and didn't ban others that use it too? Well, of course. Of course they don't. Of course they don't ban everybody. Duh. Like, no fucking shit they don't ban everybody. Do you know why? Well, it's like, oh, I wonder why this streamer gets suspended and not the other one. I don't know. Maybe because one has 10,000 viewers and the other one has 10. Because they're fucking irrelevant. No, they don't care about them. They don't even know who they are. Like, that's the truth, right? It's like they can't deal with everybody. That's just the way it goes. The poor streamers. Well, this happens all the time, right? Is that you're going to have unequal treatment because it's just, you can't apply this to every single person. You know, it's just impossible. Just ban all streamers. Yeah, not every car speeding on the highway gets ticketed. That's true. That's a really good way to say it. Yeah, I like that. Let's read a few more of these posts and then we're going to look at the videos, okay? Like, more toxicity comes from the should ACT be allowed conversation if damage meters were implemented into the game. I don't think they're ever going to implement damage meters into the game, because if they do that, what they run into is like all players just going and playing the class that does the most DPS, and then handicapping themselves in the process of doing that. So it's just like you're kind of protecting players from themselves in like a stupid way. I don't like it, but that's the way it goes. No, they have to balance classes. Well, the problem is that like you can't balance classes for every single fight. So like, for example, there are going to be fights that you have 2 targets in. And a fight that you have 2 targets in is going to be different than a fight where you have 1 target. And a fight where you have 1 target is going to be different than in a fight where you have 1 target and there's a damage burst phase. And it's going to be different than whenever you have 1 target and then there's a bunch of targets and then there's only 1 target again after that. So you can never balance every class to perform at the exact same level across all of those variables. It's not going to happen. So just get that out of your head. Let's see. I'm going to look at a few more of these here. People leave bagel toast. Isn't it a big no-no to stream with add-ons or mods? Which is why, to my knowledge, the mods community is very careful about it. Yes. I actually have a personal story about this. So, I did an interview with a certain girl in the modding community in Final Fantasy. And that's right, that kind of modding. This girl told me about a lot of things that I can't forget. And afterwards, people on Twitter, there were a lot of not safe for work Lalafell Twitter accounts that were tweeting at me. I'm going to have to go private. I'm going to make my Twitter private because of you, you balding, toothless piece of shit. I fucking hate you. Go back to WoW, loser. Fuck you, Baldy. You're ruining our game too? Oh, it wasn't enough to kill one MMO. Now you're trying to kill our game too. I can't believe you, man. And they were pissed. They were so fucking mad. And so anyway, this happened. And like, it's because they were like, there was always this expectation that like, I think Yoshi P basically said, he's like, listen, I know you guys are some fucked up pervs, but I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this. Like, yeah, there it is. There's Void Bunny right there. Gifted subs. Thank you very much. He's like, I don't want to see this. Like, and nobody else does either. So quit posting about it. Just do it in your basement and keep it there. And I think that was pretty fair. That's like the most fair thing they could say. And apparently, like, he was really disappointed. And like, it was just like, you know, it's like your dad whenever he finds out that you've been, you know, this one's. It's like your dad whenever he finds out you've been jerking off to a donkey show, right? And, you know, it's like, what's that conversation like? What's his tone? How does he talk to you about that problem, right? And so, he's just disappointed. Oh, what? Don't look it up. Well, actually, you don't need to. You already saw it. You saw it on Forsen stream. And so anyway, yeah, you saw that. It's on Forsen stream. So like that's what it was. And so that's the tone that I heard that he had about it. And Hiltron, thanks for the gifted subs too. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And so this kind of stuff happens, and I think it was, yeah, keep it to your fucking self. So we'll look at the Zeppla video about this, and we'll see what she had to say, okay? And I know that they made a big post about this as well. It's like they opened a can of worms, and people began report wars, which is probably the worst thing that can happen, and the thing that they exactly want to avoid whenever they're being so vague about third-party tools in the first place. They have to do it. Like, you understand? Like, they have to... they have to remove... They have to report the guy. And here's why. Is that if they don't do it, then more people are going to do it.